Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Slime Boss here, and Splatoon 3 will be my very first new Splatoon experience ever. I never played Splatoon 1 or Splatoon 2 on launch, and I didn't even get into Splatoon 2 until after Splatoon 3 was announced. I'm recently going back and playing through the campaigns of the original two games, but I have yet to step foot into the actual multiplayer modes of the game. So, with Splatoon 3 on the horizon, these are my 10, not top 10, just 10 wants for the upcoming Splatoon 3 game as a new fan. Things that we might see when it comes to this game, either as post-launch updates or maybe in an upcoming direct. These aren't predictions, just more so things that I would like to see for the Splatoon 3 franchise. Starting with number 1, we have Battle Royale, and I know it's probably the most common thing right now. Hell, there's even a platformer Battle Royale in the form of Fall Guys, but I think that a Battle Royale 100-player PvP or a free-for-all style game would work for the Splatoon series. And on top of that, I would love to see a huge open-world map in the Splatoon world, especially during this sort of chaotic post-apocalyptic world as we see in Splatoon 3. I'm kind of curious what it would look like to have a full open world map style of thing going on for it. Next up is Team Deathmatch. I am a huge fan of the Turf Wars, but there's not a quote-unquote classic mode or classic sort of thing to play in Splatoon's multiplayer. And I say classic as in like the classic PvP style mode, where obviously you're player versus player, but the main goal is to ink the turf. And I think that makes sense for the context of the world and, you know, the characters and, you know, the fact that they shoot ink. But I think maybe like a traditional Call of Duty Team Deathmatch style mode where you're just going for how many kills that you can get will be an interesting addition to the game. Next up is a sort of a DLC thing. Splatoon 2 is obviously on Nintendo Switch, and honestly, I kind of foresee like maybe like a bundle happening later down the line, like for a holiday thing, or maybe just like a deal on the eShop with Splatoon 2, Octo expansion, and 3. But I'm also in this sort of idea is also leading to predict that we might actually get some DLC for this game, maybe in the style of Octo expansion. And for this if you will, I kind of want to see the DLC be like a remaster of the first game's campaign. And the reason why I say this is because the character that we're playing as in Splatoon 3 is actually the main character from Splatoon 1, not the main character of Splatoon 2, and not a brand new character. It has been announced and shown off that this is Agent 3. So having a Splatoon 1 remaster DLC, or at least a campaign, wouldn't be too far-fetched. The only thing that I would say makes it far-fetched is the potentially being that, you know, this is a post-apocalyptic world, and we're not actually in the town or the city that was present in Splatoon 1. Although what could be interesting is maybe they have like relics or memories that you could like introduce as like the gimmick of playing the remastered version. And I don't say this as, you know, a way to replay the original levels, which would still be cool having on Nintendo Switch, but more so to finish out the lore of the series, because they have Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, which sort of act as like the titular, you know, part 1, part 2, you know, having the same villain return again. And I assume the same thing is going to happen again with 3, but Octo Expansion did something a little bit different. Rather than explaining like a full story, it was more of like a world building thing. Splatoon 1's remaster would maybe tie a little bow on the entire franchise, or maybe tie it into the story of Splatoon 2 and Octo Expansion, because if you remember, Octo Expansion also had that secret boss where you fought Agent 3. So having the original campaign and adding a little bit more story to that to sort of wrap up the series and to push it forward, to connect all the dots between 1, 2, 3, and Octo Expansion story would be a nice little addition. Next up is all maps and items returned from 1, 2, and Octo Expansion. So far, we haven't had the confirmation that all maps will return, which will still be a great option. But also, although we do have the announcement that all base weapons will be returning. So I guess this is more so the want that we want to have all new maps return. Some maps may be too like similar to return, or maybe there was like a special version in 2 or a special version in 3 that's completely different. But I would still like to see, you know, all the maps come back. Next up is custom servers. So these custom servers would basically say, okay, well, I want all my friends to be able to play with me and play on any of the modes, because this apparently wasn't a thing in Splatoon 2, and I'm very, very, very surprised. Also, custom servers could be the ability to play, like maybe like a streamer sets up a code, and you know, a bunch of people will be able to play together, and it doesn't matter if they're in the same match or not. I think that would be a good idea as well. On top of this, I also would like to see the ability to choose what maps you play, because I think restricting people to specific maps on certain rotations is kind of stupid, and I've always hated that idea from Splatoon 1. So hoping that the map rotations isn't a thing in general, but at least in these custom servers, you would be able to have that option. Next up is Nintendo-related maps and items. So far, I believe there's only maybe a Mario shirt or something, but I would like to see more Nintendo crossover in a lot of Nintendo games, and so Splatoon being it about a lot of style and stuff, I would love to see the ability to maybe add some crossover items there. This leads into my next idea of the apartments. So apparently apartments were a thing that were originally going to be in Splatoon 1, but never made the light of day, and there's a lot of hints pointing towards apartments actually coming into Splatoon 3, and I would love to see that. I would love to be able to customize my home, because it's or a little home, because the style of Splatoon 2, like, you know, with the outfits and stuff, would be really cool to see with customizing like a house with like Animal Crossing style. And in this wake, I would love to see Nintendo items come to this sort of apartment mini game thing as well. So like maybe you could have like a Mario poster, a Splatfest poster, and maybe some Zelda sheets in your bed or something. I don't know. Things like this would be very, very cool to see. As for how the apartments would work statistically, I think it might be just 100% a creative thing, but also maybe if maybe there's only set things you can have in your room, and if you have a poster, if you have a desk, if you have a couch, if you have a bed, maybe it adds just a little bit more stats to your current build. Things like this, but like things that are like super duper minor, almost like stickers from Brawl. Things like this where it's like very minor buffs if you just have it unlocked. Things like that. Next up is a playable me, and I don't think this is ever going to happen, but I think it would be kind of cool, or maybe some little reference to your me character, where maybe you can wear a mask of your me, or a shirt that has your me face on it. Things like this would be very cool. And finally, I would like to see concept art in the game. So I believe there's a little bit of that, if I'm not mistaken, but I think things like the Sunken Scrolls, maybe like an additional collectible, showing off like little concept art from across the series, just sort of as like a little celebration of the entire series. And that's about it. So thank you guys so much for watching this little video. I hope you know, hopefully some of these things come to the light of day, and hopefully you guys are interested in some of these ideas. And also, on top of that, if you guys have any ideas of your own, let me know in the comments down below. And thank you guys so much for watching. Goodbye.